Okay, so this is going to be a test of this format, okay? Now, you're going to have to bear with me because this format, it's not my first foray into reviewing stuff. The problem is some companies are a lot more bitchier about basically copyright material. I don't care if it's a sound, whether it's something, everything else, right? Good. Now we're buddy. All right, now. So you get the idea. There will be spoiler discussion, but I'm going to segment it off by the part because I painstakingly had to get a bunch of screenshots. I can't really use them, not many people, but as I said, I'm an avid fan of Fallout. I'm not the passerby who just says it. No, I love Fallout in all its iterations, but some are more retarded than others. The show itself, it's like 76. I tell people it's fun with friends, but never take it seriously as lore. Okay, now season two has actually been really its look, its show, but don't tell. Uh, when I say episode two is very telling, now I personally think Fallout, the television show, is a test bed for Fallout 5. It's my conspiracy theory, but they're trying to figure out where they can go. We got about 5 years of it, I believe. We'll figure it out. They're going to set it 10 years out. And I guess they're trying to gauge where it's going to be. Now, if you have not caught up to season two, I will be dawning on stuff on season two. Season one from season two. I recommend it. There's parts of season one. I mean, if you haven't seen it, some people like the show, some people hate the show. The issue with. Okay, first let's get solved. The Fallout television show, some people don't like it because you have your you have sacred cows. Fine. If not, you would never play a Fallout because canon between most of them is shit. And I say that as a person who avidly plays action RPGs and the idea if you think lore masters retain it. The thing about the show in the first episode, it actually is the first show to accurately show the bombardment of Los Angeles. It is set in the West Coast. Yes, we acknowledge Shady Sands is closer to Los Angeles, which I just think is odd. They moved around, and I had to make a correction when I get into episode two of the second season. I didn't know it. I think a lot of people didn't. They used a fan made map from Van Buren, the canceled it. So please be aware there will be spoilers and explain in autistic detail. But the show does more show and tries to tell, but a lot of it you have to. The show's chemistry is really good. That shines in season two. All right? Season two, I agree. Acting to me is very good. A lot of this utterly. Then again, bear in mind, Jonathan Nolan is a great. How would you put it? Westworld was a good series, but you can arguably say it fell off after. See, people think it fell off after The Maze. I mean, I blame that largely on the complication in the writing. So, but I do have to address something. I want to address something here first. So you have other side projects as well. I have stalkers who also stalk my channel too. But I want the I told you so moment. Because, see, I have videos I'm going to have to edit to deal with these clowns. Also, to cover Fallout, I have to actually screenshot stuff. There's a way to do it, and it's a pain in the ass. So pardon if there's anything, but it tells the story. A lot of scene, and I do recommend watching it for yourself. Everyone has it if you're not inversed with the history. And that's what they're playing on. They're playing loosely on the lore. It's using some official lore, but it's also using lore from it's using suspected lore, but it's also using canceled lore. But it is also using stuff removed from the games. Like episode 2 deals with Area 51. Area 51 is an Easter egg from the early Fallouts, was a chance encounter if you go look for it. Now, I have a whole spiel about episode 2. Episode 2 should have happened in episode 1. Not season 1. Sorry, it should happen in season 1. Because the explanation of the Brotherhood now finally makes sense. Season 1 never made sense why the Brotherhood was the way they are. I considered season 1. The strengths of season 1 was basically explaining the Vault, Lucy, and I felt Maximus's storyline was the worst because that got shoehorned in. The ghouls straddling the past and the future is kind of a Westworld trope, but Goggins does it really well. Now, with this in mind, you have to look at the show. Season 2, to be very honest, because episode 4, they premiere the episodes every Wednesday. So every Wednesday or Wednesday night. That's why like one guy goes, "Oh, you gotta get off stream." No, dude. Every Wednesday they're at least dropping the episodes on Prime. And I always watch them twice. I love the show. Sitting next to like Shogun. Costume design is wonderful. Chemistry of the cast is good too. It's like one of those magical things that now we get in television. So, if you have not watched season 1, take what I say with the greatest salt. You can catch up on it because season 2 is being dropped episodic. Every episode is about an hour. And then I have the format and I've been pretty good at predicting it to a major degree, only because the writing's on the wall. But a lot of stuff is going to be proven. They've been told not to use any endings. Now, before I start, season 2 is dealing with New Vegas. New Vegas is considered a sacred cow to a lot of the player base. Some call West Coast the actual storytelling of Fallout. Personally, that was very early Fallout. But New Vegas was a side project to finish off the West. By New Vegas, which takes place canonically around Fallout 4 in the East, the story of the West was already done. The NCR was pretty much the dominant power. The Brotherhood was gone. Legion was around. But that left the Commonwealth and the other powers in the East to decide their fate. So, then again, the show is not handling the... I think the weakness in the show is they're not explaining the NCR. It's either due to a budget, or they're just going to drop casually the state of the NCR. I don't think nuking of Shady Sands takes out the entire NCR. Because even in New Vegas, they hint that Shady Sands was falling and the NCR was failing. But that's due to political corruption. Now, it is interesting. A lot of people are going back and playing New Vegas. So, a lot of the details. Because I'm going to be curious if they show the boomers. I mean, we're going to have to see what's the fate of a lot of the factions. Because the show is taking the path of the Courier. The path of the Courier goes from roughly about Good Springs to New Vegas. That's what they're using. And you can tell by the locations. But some will say, did they move the locations? No. They're keeping the locations almost 1 for 1 or 1.5 for the map. Trust me, on the screenshotting, I found more. Now, like the Starlight Drive-In, you'll see is very much. Now, with this primer, I will explain it. Because Season 1 ended off with Moldiver getting killed, the explanation, kind of not who Moldiver was, the basic pass to the ghoul, Maximus getting glory, then Cold Fusion going to the Brotherhood hands. We didn't know the name of the chapter. Now we do. Now, their order makes entire sense now. Now, as of episode 3, we have no idea of why the Mojave chapter's there. And I think we have an idea why. Because they're basing it off a guy's map who did Van Buren, and then a guy named Polecap. Well, I didn't know that. And they're finding locations. Like Vault 24 is an example that's in episode 1. Was canceled or not in New Vegas. But the Vault suit is. Now, the thing about this is, yes, they're digging. But it's not the absolute worst. So Season 1 deals with getting the relic, what the Brotherhood will deal with it, Lucy's plot to get her father, who clearly went to Vegas, as we do at the end, and then there's a Deathclaw skull. We'll see the Deathclaw skull in episode 4. We'll see a Deathclaw. Now, I'm hoping that the Deathclaw fight isn't there. I don't think the Deathclaw fight. I'm hoping it's not episode 4, and I am really hoping in episode 4 they don't do what I think they're gonna do. Because season 1 had the chalkboard problem. And I do believe that chalkboard is going to come back and haunt them. Todd Howard, as well as other people who worked on Fallout, had to explain it. Shady Sands was nuked post New Vegas, like 1 to 2 years after. Fallout, the TV show, takes place 10 years. I will say I'm running into, I'm not saying lore consistencies, but they are actively saying you need to figure it out. Like the NCR that they meet in New Vegas, say it's been 10 years since they've been cut off from reinforcements. That makes sense. That would put it about 87. The show's in about 95 to 97. Now I'm speaking in 2100s. So, Fallout 4 takes place, and New Vegas takes place in the 2180s. So 83, and I think the other one's about 85. So you have to understand kind of the loose placement of the lore. But if they're going off a mix of lore, I mean, it makes sense. So you can't judge it entirely by the lore. And what's funny, in season 2, we finally get the explanations of the airships. So I can't nitpick them on the Predwins. I gotta stop that. Because they kind of established why they exist. So if you see a lot of screenshots talking about the story, you will see. Because also, the end of, because season 2 is going to pick up directly at the end. Hello, Judo. Sorry, my monologuing. Of season 2, season 1, with the meeting where he finds out Barbara and Vault-Tec are planning the bombs. We're going to nuke the world with an Enclave official watching over. We think it's an Enclave official. You have House, which is in that meeting. House looks thinner. Now, there is a theory about House this season. There's 2 of them. Now, it's not really spoilers if you have never played the game. You have to explore. Actually, I will get to that. Judo, have you watched it? There's another theory to Paladin Harkness, though. It's something that I didn't think of. Because episode 2 is very important. Episode 2 is extremely important. There is speculation on Harkness that they just use the name. But then again, they use Dane, the female to male, who plays Maximus's friend, does really well in acting. But they call her Dane, or him Dane. I mean, people thought that was Dane from the Commonwealth. Harkness could just be it, because we've established that the lore is being loose. See, this is the thing with the lore. With Vegas as it stands, not until episode 3, my prediction is 4 is when we are going to find out the lore of Vegas. Right now, we're on the path of the courier. Okay? Sorry for images, and let me get these loaded. Episode 1. You can actually tell I've been busy. So, this has been one of the interesting facts. All right? Let's see if they did it. I don't think they did. So, hold on. I don't want to. Hold on. Get this one first. I can only do 3 at once. Storytelling visually is interesting. This is what I love about season 2. All right? Season 2 is very much... So I'm going to go over this because this needs to be go over. Because they are... See, the reason why I don't have as much screenshots for episode 1 is because it's more visual storytelling than the other. Now, I have to see if it shows. So, this is House as we know it. Because in the meeting, this is what House looks like. Now, there is an argument that in this particular scene, this one, this is the beginning, that if that's House, what is funny, later in the season, we see this house. We are going to see this house in an elevator talking to Coop. But there is another house. Now, this brought in lore that if you did not play Vegas, you didn't know. House is based on Howard Hughes. So, eccentric, smart, kind of deranged. The Anthony house is not out of the question. Because Anthony House started H&H Tools. Robert House started the electronics with robots. And Robco. They say it's a body double. He speaks too much like House, though. He speaks way too much like House to be a body double. So, in the bar, this is the thing. These people are watching it. Actually, before I do that, please tell me I saved it. Please tell me I saved it. So, when I was talking about the airships, before I get into that, please tell me I saved it. Okay, let's start off here. Sorry, the other. You'll see it. Storytelling is very key in the beginning. All right. This is the opening. What do you see here? That is the Brotherhood of Steel airships. Now, is this the most bullshit excuse I've ever seen? We always thought that is the Brotherhood of Steel airships, minus the post-war modifications, the post-Great War. So, Are they bypassing Fallout 3? Maybe. That is key. But this is Los Angeles. But that is also the pier, by the way, where Vault 31, 32, and 33 are. It's near there. That airship does explain a lot. Now, the funny thing is, this is the meeting where House is talking about the war. Now, if I have 3 from this. So, I've actually seen a lot of people really... I don't like the explanation of... I ran across a channel that calls himself a Fallout enthusiast, but they don't understand you need to treat this show as its own canon. So, this is House on talking about the situation. This is in the wake of a strike because House promotes automation and the workers see it as scabs, like the unions feel. Now, when I say dialogue is the most important, the scenes that do it, you have to pay attention. In the bar, but House... Okay, fun fact. The guy doing House and Walter Goggins are friends IRL. Very good chemistry. Longtime friends. That's probably why their chemistry works so well. Just for the record. So he's explaining votes. Now, it comes to this. House smoking in the corner. Talking about some of the people. These are just union workers. Because he's explaining the political situation. One guy goes, the system is corrupt. But House remarks, for every dollar spent, it's something that's like I had this in mind last night, I can't forget it. For every dollar spent is a vote gained. And the person who controls the most money spent controls the vote. Something like that. That's a very House line. That House has the eccentric... House was a force. It is shown at the end of season 1. He's at the seat next to the guy who eventually becomes Big Mountain, the guy who starts it. That meeting is going to come back, the guy who starts West Tech. He is shown to be powerful. But he eventually has 3 union guys walk up. He goes, "You must be a fan." They don't realize this is probably House. Now, some would say it's a body double. I don't think it's a body double. I think it's House. Yeah, Judo, I'll get there. So, the Enclave theory is something... There's a little bit... That's what I'm going to put in speculation. It's the end, kind of, this episode. House is explaining about what I said, a dollar spent. They don't realize House is one of the richest people in the world. Why would he be in the bar? Because the main thing this season, they call it the black box, but it's the control device. Now he gets these people to rile up. Now he explains. And it's a very interesting. I guess it's like you walk into a bar, clean cut, not expecting to have the shit beat out of you by a bunch of union people. But it also shows House is crazy. House is psychotic. It's something within House's character. Now we have the black box. This is the black box. The source of the season. This device. Now, bear in mind, this isn't the first of it. Because if you remember the Mesmetron and others, this is one of the key dividing. I was wondering how they were going to play this. But see, this is just the opening. Just within the first 10 minutes of this is where I have a large majority of the storytelling. Episode 1 is an hour. But so much goes down within the first 10 to 15 minutes. Blink, you miss. So he opens the trunk and offers $31 million to become whatever. Because he talks about human nature. The guy goes, why don't you take it? It's like a big bruiser guy. So the guy, he goes, punch him in the mouth. Yeah, it sounds weird. House lets him get. Because he might enjoy it. It's really wrong. So, then he takes it, slaps the thing on the back of the guy's neck, hands him a baseball bat, and it shows the device can control people. To a degree. He beats the shit out of everybody else. Because House asked him to get rid of his friends. But this is where House finds out the device doesn't work. This is why all the heads pop. And there's a line he says right at the end of this. While the world may end, innovation will go on. Now, I really do think that's a play on the show for the season. Bear in mind, Jonathan Nolan's writing it. Look, there's an A, B, and C plot. So by that, I have to state, Westworld is an A, B, and C plot. It was always the same way that goes down. This is introducing House. Now, clearly, this is the thing the season's about. So, you get the idea. Because the portrayal of House to, I think, the fans was going to either be the make it or break it. Because what I have seen on Twitter for the last 2 weeks, even Endymion, which I like his content, but I disagree with it. He goes, everyone's too clean cut. Everyone doesn't understand the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood would want this. They wouldn't blow up a car. Tourist, go away. Play the video games. Please. Or sit down and shut up. Endymion's like, Macaulay Culkin's too clean. Brotherhood doesn't care about cars. They care about what makes them powerful. Again, House is arguably the guy who saved Vegas. Now, it goes on to explain it. But a lot of people are like, oh, they think they know the lore. No, you don't know the lore. You just didn't like the show. Stick to the games you know. You're good. So, this is the device eventually. Now, let's go to the second set. Flash forward, we get to see Lucy and Novak. That's why I said this is the path of the courier. By the way, you can tell that they're changing the show from the game because that's not it. I'll say image. They're showing the same because they changed Novak. Remember, this is the Novak Hotel. So, now, if you notice, they really go out of their way to recreate the game, but there's changes. Now, the aesthetic changes for the Novak Hotel. This is done, I guess, so Lucy has a sniping advantage, all right. Okay, nothing more. Creative licensing because the dinky dinosaur is away from the hotel. But there's a scene with the... So, the ghoul is the link to from the past to the present. So he's had interactions with everybody for 200 years. He knows the Great Khans. He knows the NCR. He's probably come across the Enclave. He knows who the Brotherhood are. I mean, he's like the lore for Lucy. Now, do I think this season Lucy needs to... Well, I think the weakness of Lucy is she's far too optimistic. By the way, I do love they gave the characters all perks and they follow. So she turns the ghouls into the Great Khans because the Great Khans have a bounty on him. And there's a big speech where, oh, this guy's killed the Great Khans for years. And he's being hung by a pool. And her whole reasoning is to shoot. Now, she does the Vault Dweller thing where she wants peace. It's like, can we talk? Whatever else. Now, personally, I find that weird. Now, it's comedical. They go, whoever does, can eat the dog and have the girl or whatever. Yeah, okay. So she eventually, I guess, shoots the thing and the pool because they needed a pool. I mean, clearly there's no pool in the one in Novak. What follows is a big fight scene that is actually really cool because if you know anything about what they did with the show, they gave... I'd have to go back and dig this up, and it'd be a real easy search. What the character sheets are for everybody. They actually have character design traits for everyone. Let me see. I know it's still out there. The ghoul is a cannibal. He also has bloody gore. Which, that's why he's very good with explosives. Actually, this is what's funny. People forget that. They actually have the special stats for them all. I personally think it's funny. It's not just they show what the special stats are. They basically release like what their traits are. I'd have to really just go back because they also say what his perks are. And they didn't choose these, they did it within the universe. I have to go find the really good one because Bethesda explained it. Like, they also did the traits too. So he always is basically bloody. He actually has, like, see, it plays into him blowing up everything. And it's a really good fight. So it's kind of strange. I have to go find it. It bothers me. Might have to just dig back through it. Because the funny thing is, they describe Lucy as melee, but she doesn't get a power fist till later this season. But enough about that. So the fight ensues, and it's like the grenade launcher, people blow up. It works. Then there's this scene. But there's also the thing in her neck, because the car gets blown up. Because Lucy shoots the car, and the ghoul breaks himself free. Forgot about that. And then he goes on to murder everybody. Which, I mean, that's the ghoul thing to do. Lucy's also having the conversation about the golden rule. Do unto others as they do unto you. Okay. But the ghoul is also hardened by 200 years in the wasteland. Lucy's the idealistic. Lucy's whole thing is she's never going to be the ghoul. So, the ghoul is also very morally ambiguous. He knows there's no law in the wasteland. Lucy thinks there's law and order. But she hasn't quite broken out of it yet. The key is yet. She's still blindly optimistic. It's like the player walking into an encounter thinking you're not going to be murdered. So, and there's the conversation. And he's like, as long as you shoot. Now, the problem is, goes through to find somebody. Woman making fleece soup. I didn't bother to see that. It's just looking for the place for the father to do. They're following the tracks. I guess dog meat can track scents. I don't know. See, dog meat's that weird one. Like, to me, dog meat's... It is dog meat, but it's not dog meat. It's tough to describe. This is Vault 24. Vault 24 was hinted at. By the way, this is the line to remember. The line to remember. He calls his daughter Sugar Bum. Alright? That is how we know that is actually. So, they introduced the Starlight Drive-In. Now, Starlight Drive-Ins were done more in Fallout 4. And then they just introduced it into Fallout 76, basically. Now, Vault 24 was behind that. Now, Vault 24 is not an official vault. Vault 24 has cut content from New Vegas. Now, my suspicion is, this is just my theory, and I guess a lot of others haven't, they kind of gathered it, but I think the location of this is to the Far Side, because they came from California. So if you're coming from California, you're going to come in from the Memorial, and then you're going to go down towards what was the theater. At the theater, you see someone playing Howard's movie, A Man and His Dog, kind of thing. It's not the first. There's a lot of people who watched Howard Cooper's films. You see it in season 1. So I think they wanted to do the theater to where you go to Big Mountain. And it's near, like, you will see an area. I've seen an area where it's near, it looks like the racetrack off in the distance. So you kind of know the area where they're going. And down in Vault 24, they tried to convince people to become communist, or it was communist experiments. And there was also control devices, but people's heads didn't explode. Now, prior scene with the woman whose son was taken, well, a shitty ass mother anyways, more ways than one, gets taken and sends a message. There's sugar bombs out. May find it. So there's the other. It's a guy. He says the line, "Go home, sugar bomb." It's, "I love you, sugar bomb. Go home, sugar bomb." That is something McClane says to his daughter. And there's the line at the end down in the vault. They're talking about, what are you going? Lucy does have the revelation. Because the scene before is, what are you going to do with your father when you find him? She goes, I'm going to bring him to justice. But down here, she sees the guy and the guy's head explode. What are you going to do? She's like, her father goes, realize her father's not going to stop killing people. Because we do know her and her father are going to have the confrontation later in the season. Now that's going to be weird. Like, they show a whole thing. Like, I think, because there's her wearing a yellow dress that she gets from the vault, basically. And then there's a big fight in Vegas kind of thing, where she's racing down the golf cart. So I am assuming that's later in the season, because she is later shown in Vegas with that outfit. So that's going to be... That's from the trailer. That hasn't happened yet. So how she confronts her father, we don't know. The father, it could go either way. Now, it deals with that, and he walks out. Now, he took the hard drive. Now, this is what I was wrong about this location. I kind of thought... So after this, there's a flashback to the ghoul talking to... See, it goes this scene. He remembers this, and this is her looking up at the Enclave person. Now, we think that's it. Because who else would be overseeing the meeting? It goes from that scene where they're casually talking. Cooper runs into back home. He's heartbroken. He asked Janie to come over, and they're going to Bakersfield. He has to greet his wife. Like, he doesn't know how to deal with it. Like, he just overheard his wife casually talking about the end of the world. Now, this is Moldiver. Now, Moldiver, as we know, is dead, but how she survived for 200 years, don't know. That's to be revealed someday. She survived for 200 years. She's not a ghoul either. Now, in reality, they're like casually. Now, she's talking about going after House, because we know the show was going to end up in Vegas. How was he going to end up in House? She goes, have you ever met Robert House? Well, no. Because Coop is a Hollywood star. Like, he's rubbed elbows with a lot of famous people. But he's never met House. Now, it's a little strange, like, but she actually thinks, after what was said at the meeting, Vault-Tec's going to start and drop the bombs. It's no secret in the Fallout universe, Vault-Tec had nuclear devices. Fallout 3 and Megaton, that was a Vault-Tec device. In fact. But the idea is how Robert House, she mentions Robert House wanted the cold fusion. Now that adds a layer to his lore. We know he survives. We know he's alive. That's the thing. We know he's alive. It's been confirmed by one of the later trailers. The trailer that shows once he gets to Lucky 38, Howard's on screen and goes, "How are you, Mr. Cooper?" So we know House is alive. And I'm assuming still cryogenically frozen in a skeletal state. Now, that means a Legion ending didn't happen. That means Yes Man didn't happen, yet half of Vegas looks like Yes Man happened. Now, he doesn't realize House is building a missile defense system. But there's an important scene before this. It's kind of weird. Like this scene. Now, people call this the nod to Fallout 4, going through a sanctuary type area with a Vault-Tec person, and then there's a bomb test. Everyone gets scared. They think it's the end of the world. This is where the game has been. See, there's a lot here. Like, the show itself doesn't explain it. So a lot of this is, I'm going over it in brief. Like, you could go and draw it. It's like the Vault-Tec person going over. Now, I mean, in reality, the sirens are going off and this guy's not panicked. Now, it ends with, we have the weirdest ending. So, this is from the trailer. I did not save it. I missed a screenshot. Yes, I did. I meant to get one from the inside. So, Vault-Tec, it's weird. We don't know where this location is. Okay, we're not sure. But this is a full Vault-Tec building underneath the ground. This is where the father was headed. Still has the power armor. Still has it. But this is a fully functional Vault-Tec facility underneath the ground. Speculation is they think Barbara's here. Later on, we find out other stuff that's down here. I think because there's cryogenic freezing is down here. There's Vault-Tec officials down here. There's premium elite people down here. Vault-Tec left it. And part of it is the music. So he's getting changed. Like he realizes that they were going for miniaturization. They have suits. Clean yourself up. Running water. Purified water. Enough power forever. It was never meant to. Food. Just everything. It's a building underneath the ground. People thought this was in Vegas. This might be in Vegas, but I don't think this is in Vegas. Could be wrong. We don't know where this is. He has a power armor, and he talks to the song is working for the man, basically. And he's getting dressed, like he did for Vault-Tec. Then he goes to Global Communications. This is where the Enclave theory kind of comes in. He changes the channel, presumably to contact House, because we know of a tagline, "You found a way to survive." We know that's House. "I will vow to continue your work you started, and by the end, you will beg me to work with you. And maybe I can get that promotion." Now it's probably implying House had a deal with the Enclave, or House would promote him. But the thing is, people are saying it's the Enclave, but he also hints that Vault-Tec doesn't know what's going on. I did forget one part of episode 1. I didn't think it was that. I thought I screenshotted it, but I guess I didn't. They had to acknowledge that the water ship is failing. And then the other weird guy is a product of incest. I feel like I forgot about that. That part is weird because Vault 31, the water chip failing, they should have addressed that last season. They said, "Oh, just use the bypass and what we have." Now they're saying there's only like 30 or 60 days left at water. Norm has decryogenically frozen all of Bud's buds, supposedly, and stuck Bud in a water bucket. Again, Vault-Tec's plot, the Vault plot's not good this season. It's just casually thrown in there. Again, that's why I don't mention it. It's not important to the greater whole. You're just going to have Norm's band probably start a new Great Khans. Because I think one of the other episodes shows them walking through Los Angeles towards Philly. Because Philly should be abandoned. Now I do remember the timestamp. Thank you. So let's say 1 hour. Took that into episode 2. Now, I mean, it's a bigger deal. Like, they're trying to set up House. House is the key. House is moving forward. Now, episode 2 is going to take longer. During one of the game streams I was doing, episode 2. Oh boy. The amount of screenshots I have, This is an episode that should have happened in season 1. If they did this in season 1, it would have explained. No one would have an issue with the Brotherhood. Ever. And I repeat that. Just the Shady Sands section. If you have not seen season 1, again, this is an episode that the first 14 minutes, 15 minutes of it, it breaks you like Expedition 33 does. Because you know what's going to happen. Breaks you like BioShock does. Because you know what's about to happen. And let's see. I'm hoping I have it. Please show the damn town. Since what happens, I had this. But you see its location. You see its location. It's a fully functional town. And it's not like the NCR didn't have full. Now, this does add a lot of depth. Because you could see it's near Los Angeles. So Shady Sands is around this area, but it's largely next to the one. So the crater, the other, and this is the town. It is a fully functional town. Now, the Shady Sands lore is because the father nuked it but got the kids back. Like, this is the scene. Now, you're introduced, goes through, there's, let me see, I'm really hoping I saved it, and I did not. Mother. Okay, now it's saved it here somewhere. I maybe did it. But it actually shows it's patrolled by NCR, it's patrolled by Rangers. There's Rangers, there's NCR, there's... Here we are. There's like NCR. That's the NCR that patrols it. There we are. You see the one Ranger, clearly. These are very different than the Mojave. And then you have this. He finds a way to find purified water down below. So that means this is a profitable farming community. People can live. But this is also where Lucy's mother took Norm and took them, and I guess that's where you could say Moldiver and basically Lucy's mother was. Now, she gets turned into like a charred ghoul, but yeah. And they're talking about in the moment because the father was an inventor. Now, a lot of this is 100%. Now, I can understand why they didn't show this in season 1. Maybe they didn't think about it. Let's see, I'm looking for something particular. I think in the future I'll get these more organized by slides. I think that's what I'm going to do, okay? Yes, Note to self. I label things extremely. But there's also a scene where they comfort. Yeah, I think I went and say that. And they're like, oh, we can settle down. We can have a kids. Like, and she's like jokingly goes, we'll only have another child if you learn how to push a child out of your ass. Now, granted, it's actual banter. And like it's one of those things, like it's gonna come to an end. And then it kind of cuts over like a family bonding moment where where it gets tragic, and everyone knows why this gets tragic if you know. So, okay, here it is. That's the one I was looking for. There's actually a theory. People think that's Janie. Oh, I would say it would be a twist if Maximus is the ghoul's grandson or descendant. It will be funny. After seeing the parents, there's that theory floating around now too. That's either Janie or a descendant. Now, that's kind of heretical if you actually prove it. That'll also mean the ghoul wants to kill. It gives a good reason for the ghoul to kill McLean. That's the one I was looking for. I need to, like, as I said, I kinda need to. There is, and you wonder how they got a nuke to basically the town. The town's just being here. Let's go here. Now, I had to listen back to this with captions because this didn't make sense because I knew I heard something, but I wasn't sure, and I heard it, and it's in the thing because you can tell he was controlled. All right? So I said there's going to be spoilers if you did not. This is a very big lore dump for us, where did I have these in order? So he arrives in the town muttering. The guy's like, okay, so it's a caravaner. He's muttering. I guess a crazy caravaner isn't out of the ordinary. He's muttering, you can kind of hear it. Now, audio-wise, it doesn't make sense. You hear it. Patrolling the Mojave would make you wish for a nuclear winter. Now, that is an NPC line. Welcome to people piling in. From Fallout New Vegas. So, you can tell he's controlled. Now, the problem here, it goes to this scene, where they go to greet. Now, they think nothing is off. Goes to this. He collapses. They go to the town dock. It's like, oh, a caravaner comes to town. Let's see what the caravaner has. What can we trade for? His father realizes the thing. The reason why I have a lot from this is because in storytelling, we have not seen how Shady Sands was destroyed. We have no idea. We have only the vaguest. This is like over the course of like minutes. He hears the line, the bomb's about, and he goes, why would the thing be doing? See, the father clearly is a tech type. So he's working on the thing. Let me get these next so I can just go through it. It's a crushing scene because you know actually what's about to happen. Again, if you see, I have it saved. As I said, I need to really get these into slideshows for. I'm going to have to, and I'm going to forever. No. One of the two ways. So there's a scene. It's all in the storytelling. So he tells Max to run home, to go with his mother. And it's a look on Max's face as he's running away. It's the eternal question. What do you say? He's trying to comfort his father. He wants to be around his father. But at the same time, it's an expression. He doesn't understand what it is. The father knows it's probably bad because he basically tells Max to run home. This is right after he tells the town folks to run and hide, leave. I guess if something goes wrong, try to get further enough from the blast that if it goes wrong, see, it's in this folder somewhere. But I'll say screw it. I'll just find the next. As this happens, he defuses the bomb. Now, look at these next up. Because he actually defuses it. So, he defuses the bomb. I want you to notice that is a Vault-Tec Pip-Boy. The funny thing is, this is after the guy's dying. He discovers the device in the guy's neck, which is in here somewhere. As I said, I'm going to have to reorganize this at some point in a near fashion. Oh, here we are. He flips the guy over, and he sees the device in the neck. Then, this is after he recognizes the phrase. And somehow, he came from the Mojave with a nuke. Nobody knows how. We don't know if it's house. That's the... Again, I need my labeling is needing work. But that's then he goes to find it. So there was a fail-safe in the bomb. Now, knowing this, it's the eternal question. You know, here it is. Max running home. He tells Max to run home. Go to the mother. Knew I'd find him. Tells Max to run home. You gotta see in this scene, this is all in the span of 5 minutes or so of the first episode. Kind of like 5 to 10. A lot of this. We're not even out of the past the 10-minute mark. Now, the joke about refrigerators and being able to survive the apocalypse, I guess that comes from Billy the Ghoul, the kid from Fallout 4, that I guess he gets stuck in the refrigerator. Where he goes home and he basically runs to the parents. They're cleaning out the fridge, which I guess you're going to shove the child in the fridge because they can't save themselves. So I guess there's no vaults, no fallout shelters. But then again, judging by the size of the bomb, I would say a shelter wouldn't have mattered. If we look at the crater, because the crater itself looks like a meteor crater hit the place. It looks like a meteor. There's a scene, but in a nutshell, I'll get the list. Because it's like a brace, which is kind of a... Yeah, see, I'm hoping I can find it, or at least the other. Because you can kind of gather the scene is pretty tragic. Like, they're talking, and it's like, what do the parents tell the kid? Like, she comes home, and basically, he starts cleaning out the fridge. To basically, so he can hide in it. Now, it goes, maybe not chronological order, but you're going to get the idea. It just kills you, because you already know. He doesn't watch his parents die, but he knows they're dead. These words are very impactful. So he's cleaned out the fridge. He doesn't know what's about to happen because remember, we found in season 1 Max in the fridge. That's how the Brotherhood found him. Okay. That's how he was found. He was found by the Brotherhood in the fridge. But he's also telling his father, the father tells him to eat very slowly, drink water very slowly, and frequently. Now, that's kind of in preparation if you've been near a nuclear blast, kind of old storytelling. Both of them are implying that a phrase, he says it, as long as you leave, you will grow up to be a good man. And kind of along the lines of, as well, it doesn't matter what you do in your life, as long as you leave the world slightly better than you found it. Now, that might be a theme later in the season. But this is probably the only Shady Sands lore we were going to get. That's why episode 2 is so impactful. Because episode 2 explains what happened to Shady Sands. Now, the mother says goodbye, tells him to get in the fridge. It's kind of like before. It's kind of like goes in hand in hand. Now, I tried to get it because once you get to a point There's like a scene, and you see the full just blast. And it goes to the parents. They go, have we raised him well, and will he be a good man? Like, these are the parents. They know they're dead. The child can't hear it. Child's crying in the freezer. Bomb goes off. Town is gone. They explain not only the origins of the Brotherhood, they also explain the destruction of Shady Sands. Now, arguably, should these shows be an hour long? Plus, this is all a lore dump in the beginning of episode 2. Casual as shit. You will miss the details if you've never seen the first season. Because this is the only descriptor of Shady Sands we'll probably get. Judging by the timeline, they're saying we're in 97. So it's been 2 to 3 years, potentially since. So I said the scene's terrible, like, to the people. So, jump forward to Maximus. Maximus first appears. Please tell me I saved that. God's sakes. This is why when you're tired, you should not be doing screenshots. This is the first shot we see of Maximus. This is what I love about the power armor. The power armor actually shows what it actually looks like. Like, it's very clear that the power armor is like an exosuit that they can walk around in, but it also shows the meter, like the various meters you see in power armor. Like, it's the interface right here. They're killing ghouls. They go to this base. It's near. I knew they were going to show Area 51. Oh god, before I forget. Before I move to this part. Sorry. Before I move to this part. There's very important. Very, very important in the other half. I would forget this if I did it. And if I did, go back. So, flash forward after the bombs exploded, by the way. This is the father. Now, this is when the child calls over. Bear in mind, he's been looking in the mirror. He's been washing his hands in the Pip-Boy. He knows the bomb's been detonated or triggered. And he sits there. He knows he actually saved his kids. Now, the question is, how did he do it? I said this was after the detonation, but I was wrong. This is before. He knows that the bomb is about to detonate and kill his wife. There's a tear in his eyes. Now, the thing is, yes, he is a murderous monster. Very much indeed. Because on the third, for me to get screenshots, I actually had to go through and subtly watch. He is a monster. But he loves his children. But I guess his wife betrayed him. and he knows what he did. Now, this is he hears Lucy call. Because I think this is chronologically as the bomb has been detonated or going to be detonated. It brings joy that he knows he still has his family. Norm and Lucy are sitting on the couch. And then there's the detonation of what book would you like to read? Wind in the Willows. Basically like a tragic thing. But it could also be an allegory. He destroyed Shady Sands. Then again, as I said, this is all. I recommend watching this. Because a lot of this, I don't do this justice. The cinematography is great. It's like he goes off and just... But the explanation is, how did he... Look, plot holes are, how did he get the bomb? The reason why I go over. There's a lot, because that is the only Shady Sands lore we are going to get. Like, I will be shocked if we get basically anything else. So the first shot's the power armor, and he's clearly, post being a hero, he has basically embraced being the main knight for, or paladin for, we think it's a paladin, but his order is the Order of San Fernando. That comes from the San Fernando Valley. And they're a very religious order. They have one too many clerics. That's something that's always struck odd to me. Every brotherhood order is different. That's what's been on Twitter, and I think, and it's funny how Endymion pulled himself out of that thread really quick. See, all the tourists are leaving the threads because they know they're going to get ratioed. Every brotherhood chapter, I guess, is very different by this point. We get our first shot of a full feral ghoul. That is a full, because he's walking through. Those are the feral ghouls. Because they go to this facility. Trust me, I don't do this fight scene justice. They're walking through getting the device. Basically. Now, if you're talking about they only care about a relic. Okay. That's all they care about. They don't care about the relic. Why was he sent here? Now, it is funny how Quintus knows about Area 51. I mean, whether or not they say it or not, the animations of the ghouls are so good. Like, this is the ghoul, like, standing up. Like, they may use puppets, but it's like the ghoul creaks up. And of course, you just shoot the ghouls. This is the key. Now, I'm like, okay, this really makes him look good. And he's clearly still using the power armor that got scratched by the Yogwai. They haven't repaired it. It still has the scratches. It still has that. And I'm like, what is this? I have it labeled as the key to Area 51. Now, there's very developing moments where that he goes back to the vertibird Now, the fun fact about a lot of this is you see a scene. The craft is flying over. I'm like, so where's Area 51? Area 51 is where it is on the map. Like, you see the vertibird docking. Now, the funny thing about this is, when I say the show's accurate, that's how the vertibirds dock in Fallout 4. Where you have the moment here. There's a scene, this scene, I will explain this. So, he's looked for a place to belong. Basically. He has just come back. He asked if he ran into any issues. He goes, minor abominations. And he asks what the device is he picked up. Quintus goes, this is the key to our new home. Now, I had a feeling that the Brotherhood was going to find Area 51. The question is, what are they going to do with it? I mean, clearly. And he goes, yes, the greatest arsenal ever. We will build our new home. This is also implying Area 51. The key they picked up, and this is the look, he calls him his son. Now, this is contradicted, or he feels hurt down in the next episode, but I will get to that when I cover episode 3. Episode 3 is kind of interesting. So the thing is, Area 51, now for those who are not familiar with New Vegas, why was the... So, if you've never played the game, you do not know the Dervish system. So you have the Dervish system. I knew this was the Dervish system. The Dervish system is what kept it kept the Brotherhood in the Mojave hidden. So there's this playground. Okay, so the playground inside, they find a device where you have to shove in. These fans come underneath the ground. And then they blow away the sand. Now, this implies that Area 51 was hidden by the Dervish system. Now, they explained the Dervish system as a system used to hide. See, okay. So the Dervish system, prior to us knowing about it, was just to keep basically the Mojave chapter from being discovered. Okay? That was a big deal. They used it. Everyone thought it was just this freaky dust storm. But it's a good way. It's been buried. It's implied Area 51's been buried under sand since the end of the war. No one knows why. Now, Area 51 has a whole bunch of stuff in it. That's why there's something about it. It not only confirms the Zetas. Now, it does raise questions that I'll get to. This is just me as a fan of the series. Like the Ark of the Covenant's down there. The Declaration of Independence is down there. There's a Tenement Army statue down there. There's like 3 mothership. There's 3 Zeta aircraft. They find the shock baton that the aliens use. They have an alien blaster. But this whole scene, when that gets uncovered, is just an Easter egg. It's literally every Fallout person looks at it as an Easter egg. Now, you flash back to Lucy. Lucy's walking with the ghoul. I'm assuming, we don't know where. This, I think, is near Good Springs, but there is, I can't think where there's a forest. It's kind of like a forested scrub area. They walk past a hospital. Let's see. Because this part is. Because the latter half is actually the meeting of. Get these up. Is actually the. See, after this, it goes into the Brotherhood part. Then there's like a brief. I'll just go over the Norm stuff later on, like a little bit, because this is the episode Norm. Let's see. Did I talk about that? Yes, it goes to this, to that. Yes, to this. So, leading to here. This is the ghoul. They're down one of the roads. This is near probably Good Springs. Now, we don't know how far the Legion camp is from here. It's kind of implied. This is on heels of the last episode. Because at the end of the last episode, they go, I don't care what you do. You think shooting people in the ass and not killing people is a good thing. You think you're doing good by shooting people in the ass or just not injuring. Swing along that line. It's the ghoul basically saying he's been around the wasteland for 200 years. Lucy is still naive, but he also hits her with the lie. You didn't grow up in a real world. He goes, yeah, but look what you're left with. It's an interesting dialogue where he has to reflect on his life in the past, because the ghoul often basically doesn't. It goes back to Barbara packing the keepsake for the vault. I think it's like this, or it's afterwards. But he says empathy is like mud. If you step in it, it's going to get stuck to your boots. Then eventually you're going to. He goes, it's like empathy is like mud. Get stuck to your boots and you'll be trapped. Hence, meaning he had to harden himself for the wasteland. Now, there's this. It's in the same scene. They discover a hospital. They make a. Now here's a scream in a hospital. The line is, you hear a line. Basically, because people have been screaming for 200 years. She's like, are you not going to help them? It's the person screaming. Now, I do have an issue with this. Trust me, in the other, I would be really curious about it. Because, like, this does bring up a very interesting thing. And then he finally talks to her and goes, because he goes, people have been screaming for 200 years. Nothing's changed. She goes, what if you try to change it? Because this episode is called The Golden Rule. That's actually the name of the episode. First one was the innovator. This is called the Golden Rule. The Golden Rule is what this episode is called. It is about the thing. So, the Golden Rule. So, he has to oblige her. He gets closer to her and says, "You want to know what I was like before the war? I was stupid." He goes, "I was like you, stupid." In that manner. She gets mad, storms into the hospital, goes to the basement. This is the one. He sees tunics. Now, this is where the interesting part of the show is. Now, personally, it's where I have not a nitpick. Lucy's too stupid for her own good. This is where you see the fight with the Rad Scorpions. Clearly, it's Rad Scorpions. Rad Scorpions come out and attack everybody. You find an injured Legionnaire. No, he actually slashes the throat of the... I thought they were Legion slaves that escaped. But I'm not sure. Because the guy is a Legionnaire, and he slits the throat of the Legionnaire and then eats a piece of meat. And he starts choking. Because he does have the cannibal perk. So he basically has the idea of... It's actually his character. He has the cannibal perk. Where he realizes there's a Rad Scorpion. And that's when the Rad Scorpions attack. Now, he gets injured. He uses her as a shield. Because Lucy's like, "You're not going to kill her. Like, there's a meeting." And then that's when the ones. This all happens roughly about the same time. And then he gets injured by the Rad Scorpion. And she uses her only stim pack to save her. But there's a dialogue before this. She goes, she needs a stim pack. But the ghoul's line goes, "Aren't you from Far West?" Meaning, potentially, they're near. What would they be doing in Vegas? Shouldn't they be near the Bay? That's going to come up later on. The Legion potentially should be west by now, towards California. But he also says that would be a profound waste of resources before he slices the guy's neck. Now, he doesn't tell Lucy who these people are. We, as the Watchers, know they're the Legion. We know the Legion aren't good people. Everyone. This is, I was wondering, how are you going to introduce the Legion? This is how they're going to do it. So after the Rad Scorpion fight, and he asks, "Well, do you need a stim pack?" So he gives it to her. She goes, "Also, you will heal." And calls her the profligate, basically. That comes from the next episode. It's the title of the next episode. But, and she goes, "I will go, let's go Golden Rule." Goes, "Okay, so I'll come back after you. I'll come back to you after I take her home." I guess we all kind of know how that's going to turn out. But that is in more of the Legion plot takes place in episode 3. So, then she leaves. carries her off to the. See, this is where Golden Rule gives her that. Also, probably because she got used as a human shield to dodge a Rad Scorpion. Yes, Rad Scorpions are not to be fucked with. They are following the Fallout 76 rules. Fallout 76 rules imply that monsters are very dangerous. That's why I kind of dread the reveal of the Deathclaw. If the Deathclaw cannot cleave power armor, it's already been said Yogwise can cleave power armor clean through. Come on. And then Maximus is going to use power armor and fight a Deathclaw. Okay. Flash forward to the revealing of Area 51. This could be a lot of screenshots. So, Area 51, I think this is where you start to see it. I should have showed this earlier. The turbines come on in the beginning, start uncovering it. But it's good. Better I cover this here. This is what it looks like uncovered. And I guess there's more later on. But you know it's Area 51. Now, 2 hangars. I want to say in the back, there's more. Like somehow this was perfectly kept under sand. Now, this is the interesting part. This is more of when you get into and they see what's in Area 51. We've always wondered. I have this titled Relics. Okay, some of it makes sense. I hate to explain it. The funny part about this is, look, you come in. This is when they enter the place. There are 3 Zeta aircraft. There's a bunch of aliens, and I guess they don't know what these are. These are just going to look like abominations. No one's going to know the difference. You know? I guess that's why. There's also the weird thing. They take literally a Zeta body that's been in the refrigerator. Okay, so the lore of Area 51 has always been they found Zetas. They open it. They'll just think this is an abomination. They go, oh, it's a working refrigerator. And they just toss the body out. This is where when I said people like Endymion, they're like, why would they blow up a working actual car? Like, because the Brotherhood doesn't care about the car. They care like, oh, that's a working refrigerator. They kept the aliens cryogenically frozen. The idea is you find a crashed spaceship. They chased a bunch of Zetas, then they gunned them down in a canyon. That's the only lore we had. So there's a bunch of relics down there. Now, the fun fact is, it's the first showing of the... This is more when they show. Like, why do you have that? You have the Declaration of Independence is down there. There's the Ark of the Covenant. Now, granted, this is a little bit the other one. They show the shock baton. The shock baton is the electro baton that the aliens use. So it's commonly known as. Fallout 76 has these more than, I guess, Fallout 3 has Mothership Zeta, but shortly before this scene, for this particular one, they show the cryolator. They find plasma grenades. This is a cryolator. And I mean that. This is something, if you blink, you miss it. Basically. They find the alien blaster. This was the whole thing, they say. They supposedly find plasma guns, too. Which, I would not be surprised if they're down there. Oh, I did forget one thing earlier on. Damn it. That's what I did. There's a scene, and I guess. Oh, I didn't save it. Yeah, no, it's here. Because, like, this is like the first time if you get a callback where you see Maximus is cleaning his armor. And it's this scene. Now, you probably would know that's a female to male actress or actor. Does very well as Dane. You would never guess it, but they do really well as their character. Like, he's talking to, like, a squire. Why do you do rituals? And it goes back to the other. Why do you clean yourself? Take care of yourself. Because he's quoting the Codex. And then after that, and he goes, part of being clean is knowing to use soap and not smelling. Now, a lot of people are like this because that's in the Codex. Not all the Brotherhoods quote the Codex. But then he goes to polish the armor. He goes, I would rather always clean armor than have it stay dirty or keep get dirty. Now, the idea is he comes with the idea of the romanticized Codex Brotherhood. We did not know truly about what this Brotherhood is. But prior to this, we don't know when they get into the hangar, by the way, they moved to cold fusion. Now, what were they going to do with cold fusion was the question. We find out later on. That is to make a bunch of fusion cores. But Dane brings up this meeting with the elders is unsanctioned. This meeting with the elders, he said, did not inform the Commonwealth. Now, we knew there's going to be a Brotherhood civil war. We don't know how. Well, technically, we kind of have an idea. So, it's confirmed there are 4 other chapters. Well, there's 12 total chapters. So, Quintus confirmed a meeting with 4 other regional chapters. And Dane comes to Maximus. But there's also a scene as well. He goes, yeah, the wasteland's terrible. But he goes, you met somebody. The girl, yeah, but she left. He sent her away. So the Brotherhood didn't come after her. But here nor there, according to the story. And I recommend you watch this all yourself. A lot of it is, I just condense it. So the Brotherhood, which is interesting in the fact that this is the idea. We didn't know what the Brotherhood chapters. So there are 12 chapters, at least in the United States. 12. But the Commonwealth is the most powerful. Basically, the Commonwealth controls them. The Commonwealth. Now, the idea is we don't know. The idea we think the Brotherhood is there. We think the Commonwealth Brotherhood with Harkness. I always thought it was odd. Why would the Commonwealth Brotherhood send only one paladin and one vertebrate? If we're going off, I guess they fear. That's how much fear. Because Quintus brings up. So, there are 3 other elders. One of the elders, the woman elder that looks like an Indian, is from Yosemite. One is from Coronado. Now, they say Coronado is out by San Diego, which should be in Legion territory. What they're doing here? Question. The other one's from the Grand Canyon. I think Coronado's in California, sorry. The one in the canyon, what are they doing? Quintus's chapter came from the Los Angeles area, and his was the Order of San Fernando, which probably is the San Fernando Valley. Now, Yosemite, this tells the difference between the Brotherhoods. The Brotherhoods themselves are different. The one from Yosemite is not very religious, but more codex. Canyon, the joke is they could fuck robots. Now, it's implied they maybe play looser with the codex because the Commonwealth leave them alone. The one from Coronado keeps women as subservient. And Quintus's order is a very religious order with a lot of scribes and clerics that view the Brotherhood as religious. This is going to sound weird. If it sounds weird to you and me, So the concept, this is how the Brotherhood is ordered. So, bear in mind, we do not know of anything outside of New Vegas what is left of the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood is said to be scattered in the West. Fallout 3's standards are that the Outcast was trying to basically talk to the West, not realizing most of them would be gone. You have a chapter in the pit, supposedly, but it's also implied that there's still a chapter in Texas. I guess that's the lore, which he's trying to foment a civil war. He goes, yes, we have grown apart over the... But one thing we agree upon is power. Now, this is something we have wondered about the Brotherhood in the show. Now we don't know how they all got airships. I would like for it to be subtly explained. But good luck. We'll see if they do it. Again, and then there's this... It's a scene where they're like, okay, we'll talk about a civil war or do whatever. And then even the one who says from Yosemite, I don't go in, you know my chapter doesn't go in for this religious crap. So it's often implied that but they all fear. They go, so what will happen if, because at the start of the meeting, they're like, what would happen if the Brotherhood, that if the Commonwealth was there, the Commonwealth would seize the relic. They know they have the relic. They know it. So you'd have to turn it over. Now you get a flashback a little bit to Norm. Norm basically, I just cover this. This is I usually call this a very minor plot. Like, Norm's like, what are you going to do? Because he's like, I can get you killed. I'll just touch on that because quickly. I'll just hit all those plot points. He's like, oh, but if you want to die, you do this. They say there's only like 10. Now, I want to say this is a budgetary constraint. But, look, if one Lucy's annoying, 10 Lucy's is annoying. Alright? So he defrosts them. He's going to tell them, planning is easy, chaos is hard. Basically sticks him to a bucket upside down, and he's malfunctioning. And I guess nobody finds him. And he says he's dead. Now, the problem is like, oh, we're all going to die down here. Motivates them. They literally look like interns. Now, one of the main ones is supposed to be the one next to the Indian kid. Back there. I think she's going to be one of the main ones. It'll be interesting to see what happens. She's the one still looking like they prominently feature her. But they have to find a way out of the vault. That's how they find the ventilation to get out. They're supposedly going to be going past like Vault 4 in the next episode. I'm not thrilled. It's the dumbest plot ever. I'm going to be very honest. It's a very much, but in the meeting, right? You see the meeting of all the other craft that come in before the meeting of the elders. They clearly have others. You know what I mean? They're all there. That's the meeting when they show up. Before the meeting of the elders. And then it just shows the various flags. They all have different flags, too. Now, you would imply that they say that Maximus is a knight, and I think he is a knight. He is not a paladin. I only think his order has knights and paladins. Now, traditionally, Brotherhood does not allow scribes to be leaders. There's actually a scene here like this. So, he gets challenged to a fight outside of Power Armor by one of the knights from, I think it's Coronado. It's from Coronado. And it's a big burly guy. He brings out a knife and he basically cuts him in the gut and he tries to choke him out. So he twists the knife into his chest, kills him. But there's a moment that he's looking over at Quintus, and he knows he has to prove his strength to Quintus. Now, we'll see if this gets contradicted down the line, because there's something that happens in episode 3 that might make the shake up his faith. But this is the deal of they are all different. Like, there's 2 fighting with different power armors, right? And then he kills the guy. Maximus is happy. Who is the only one? Dave is pretty much looking at another field tech and basically saying nothing good will happen with them having cold fusion prior to the whole meeting. He knew they were going to bribe with the fusion cores. Forgot that earlier. So when they're powering up the cold fusion generator, it's like, yeah, nothing good is going to happen. And that's implying Quintus is going to do a civil war. Now, the fun fact, that's when Harkness arrives. Harkness arrives, but there's kind of this to that, like the other. Now, there's a scene. Very big. Let's see if I have it saved. So he comes in. I did not save this. I'm going to hate this. Before I get to that one. So there's a scene. Harkness lands. Now, clearly Harkness lands inside. Because everyone is there. Because you see, this is the bribing with the power cores. And they go, hey, fuck whatever the codex says. Go ahead and do it. Now, if loyalty is bought that quickly, and I may have to go back and get that screenshot, he basically, Harkness lands. Yeah, that's maybe the one I didn't save. And it's a telling face that it's either saved it here somewhere. Because during the scene of them fighting, Harkness basically labeled it as Harkness, but he goes, someone is contemplating a rebellion. He sees Maximus, because the scene goes from this, there's a speech. And I thought I saved it, but I guess I didn't. When he lands, he's like, I hear someone's contemplating a rebellion without informing the Commonwealth. Because someone's discussing a civil war. And apparently, the Commonwealth basically didn't get an invitation. Now, it ends... here it is. Yes, part of my disorganization. Indeed. So he lands. There's a look. Gets out of his vertibird. Looks over. And this is Quintus. The scene. He lands. So, he goes, like I hear, they're contemplating a civil war. And I didn't receive and the Commonwealth did not receive an invitation. Am I right? Looks over at Quintus. And this is clearly, and I mean, I don't know if the Yosemite person is not there. They look like, oh shit, because someone broke comms and it's implied. And then it goes over because everyone's watching in reverence and awe, basically. Now, there's an idea that he is from the Institute or the Enclave. Hard to really tell. Again, The later part is he. There's this. It's a scene where it ends, and it goes. He looks at Harkness, and this is how it ends. It goes. He sees he takes out the big guy, and then does this. He gives a nod of respect. That's how the episode ends. That is literally the fourth final. Now, if you look at the end slide. Okay, so the thing about the end slides, so far the end slides hint at the next episodes. Okay, so just remember, Prem was the end of the first. The end scene is this. So the next episode was the Legion. Now, the Legion, it deals with the Legion and NCR. See, with Multi, I won't be able to get this detailed. He'll get very boring because he wants to review 3 episodes at once. I'm sorry. You cannot take these episodes in 3 batches. There is too much that goes on. All right, too much. If you look into the details of all these episodes, once the episodes start going down around, I think it's about after the core plot gets done and set up, that's when they will start getting into a focus plot where it's going to go linear progression down the line. But episode 2, when I say episode 2 is a very vital episode, it is. That establishes the Brotherhood lore. It establishes Shady Sands. It hints at literally Area 51 because they acknowledge the Zetas fully. But there's also a part. See, the idea is, before I forget, there's one other part. I don't know. I would touch on this next. She goes back. Please tell me I fucking saved it. So Lucy drops the person. She sees Legion on the cliff. Then she gets curious and walks into a small camp. Then she gets surrounded and captured. And she's like, oh, we all know we're good people. That's why I said Lucy's kind of stupid. Because she drops the person off, that she waits till nightfall to go investigate instead of go back for the goal. And she gets herself captured by the Legion. I'm sorry, that is the ending before the credits. Now, in the credits, which is funny, is Revenge of Brutus. Brutus. That is a film Cooper Howard starred in. And there's a thing, too, about Barb. Barb's cacking the keepsake. Because part of it is... Oh, I forgot about that. She's packing the... Let me see. Is it this episode? That's in episode 1. She's packing the keepsake, and that's in episode 1. Or that's in episode 3. Yeah, that's in episode 3. Because we don't get that. Because the idea of the Legion, what the Legion is, it's what they are like at the end. Because episode 3 starts the foundation of the NCR in Vegas and of the Legion. So that's something to remember. Now, granted, it's a lot to take in information because a lot of the show is expecting you to read between the lines, but you can watch it, you can find out the small details because, like, they shoved Shady Sands within the first 10 minutes. They shoved Area 51 with the fight scene introducing Maximus in about the same period. So a lot of the thing, it's like you don't explain that. Now, it begs the question, and there's not an answer to it. McClane made a deal with House because the exact timeline, when did he go get the children? It actually kind of muddies the water. When did he go and get Norm and Lucy? When did he go to Vegas? He had to make his way to Vegas, get House to get him a nuclear device to destroy Shady Sands. That means he knew of House. I don't think it's the Enclave. I think the Enclave might be revealed at the end. Because when I get into episode 3 is kind of quick, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'll save it till tomorrow. Episode 3 deals with that. There's a line from Paladin Harkness that means something is happening out east. It can't be the Institute. The Institute should be destroyed. Unless it's the Enclave. But that is speculation. But there's also the thing is, he also, because Paladin Harkness's role is very, I say minor. I mean, spoilers, he gets killed next episode. But that also goes into the Brotherhood lore as well. Because Paladin Harkness, I'll touch on this now, Paladin Harkness is actually of the Commonwealth Brotherhood. The Commonwealth Brotherhood is led by Elder Maxon at this point. Elder Maxon believes 100% in the Codex. But there's also something in that episode where Quintus talks about the foundation of his chapter and what they believe. He believes the foundation of the Brotherhood was a religious moment of him choosing his God over the government. Now, I've seen people argue over this, but you have to look and kind of know the early history. He did it, but he tried to say it was an act of rebellion. Yeah, it's in this episode. He talked it as because according to the main lore, Elder Maxon went over to a base, killed a bunch of scientists, the Mariposa base, where they were doing FEV research. But according to the Fernando Valley chapter, it's religious. So you have 4 different chapters of the Brotherhood. Distinct. 5 if you count the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is the most traditional, but they are also the most powerful. But I'll touch on that in episode 3. You learn a little bit about that power structure. But then again, Harkness is not a good example of it. They let him go west with 2 suits of power armor. Not just any power armor. Advanced power armor. So that means the Brotherhood out east clearly not only has the technology advantage, but the equipment advantage, which is separate. Because it's implied that the Brotherhood, the rest of them, are subservient. Because Quintus wants to break chain of command. Chain of command is meant to bind. Now, I have seen a lot of stuff, and I can forgive a lot of people that don't know Fallout lore. I know the lore through the games. They're like, oh, every Brotherhood chapter is different. Like, it's implied the Mojave chapter is different because of the destruction of the chapter. That's why a scribe leads. That's why a McNamara leads. Traditionally, they're only led by knights or paladins. But the Fernando chapter is very different. But it's like Dane knows there's something wrong. So the idea of the Civil War, how it's going to play out, I don't see it because, again, episode 4 I have my theories. So tomorrow I'll do the episode 3. It should take not as long, but episode 2 is very key in lore. Not just because Area 51, because it explains the Brotherhood order. Because if you we've been doing research into this since they talked about it. Coronado should be deep in NCR territory. Canyon chapter should be deep in Legion territory. That would be the Divide or the Grand Canyon. That would be Legion territory. How they exist is entirely questionable. But they do. Call it video game logic at its best. But episode 3 kind of stuff happens. But yeah, it's interesting. Leading into 4 and 5, I have a feeling we're going to have Vegas lore. But why I think that is because how episode 3 ends. And it's very interesting. Like, they could go anywhere. But like the explanation of Shady Sands with the Brotherhood lore, this should have been explained season 1. No one did it. And the Brotherhood lore cleans up that plot hole. Now the Vault-Tec plot hole gets worse. if I say the Norm storyline isn't good, because it's the weakest storyline of the season so far. And some of the lessons of this episode carry over to the next episode. But then again, I'll do this tomorrow. I'm going to wait and hope I don't get copyright struck. It's going to be something funny, and I'm not going to notice anything until post. After I'm done, I don't want to get, see what I mean, the copywriting. It's using images. Sometimes YouTube is fiddly. So if this disappears, there's a reason why. But I don't think it's going to happen. And then after episode 3, I'm going to be reviewing them episode after episode. So it might bunch up this week. It might bunch up when I catch it 4. Then I'm going to have to review them one after another. It's going to be too much. We got Multi who wants to do 3. Whew, that's too much. It's too much. But Multi didn't get Fallout Season 1. It's multi-layer storytelling. So, as I said, everything is going to play a role when the main plot goes down. And basically what's going to happen is it's going to culminate in New Vegas. Because episode 4, I guess we're going to start moving there. So, anyways, till tomorrow, I'm probably going to rest for like an hour and a half, catch up, and do Sacred 2. Streaming games on Fridays isn't as good. I'm going to try to maintain streaming at 6 with games, but this is rare. I'm not going to do this. This I needed to get out of the way because I had to clip all this stuff out of the weekend. So I need to catch up to the reviews. So if I watch episode 4 Wednesday, 3 will be tomorrow. I watch 4 Wednesday. And then I do 4 either Thursday. Maybe. At some point, it's just going to have to catch up. Doing the 2 episodes a week, I'm not sure. I'll have to see how the format shakes out. I'll have to see how the energy and waking up does. Because I got a couple of other projects in the woodwork, so to speak. But that's more to be revealed later on. I may touch on that tonight. But I don't know. I'm going to rest and probably do Sacred 2 tonight. I've been just working through it. I don't know. That's been my game of choice. Diablo 4 is at its peak. I was in, so 6 o'clock, I'll be back. See, I'm going to have to do that. So, anyways, thank you. Bear with it. And I apologize for the layout. Sometimes my layout is... The problem is when you label things better. Anyways, I will have another day and see you around Judo and whoever's watching. And to my haters, learn to critique stuff better, especially little movie Percocets. But I will have the timestamp, so it's at the hour mark. Episode 2 starts. Anyways, I will have that edited in post. So good. Till then, I'll be back in an hour and a half. Very busy day today.